For all of this, you've got to get to the budget, right? I mean, the House Budget Committee released its $4 trillion plan yesterday for the 2018 budget, marking the first step toward tax reform. House and Senate approval of that budget would unlock reconciliation. That's the tool you need.
That's the key.
To allow you to pass tax legislation in the Senate with a simple majority. But critics of this administration are citing the lack of major reform so far. So you think that, can you walk us through the steps in terms of what happens next regarding the budget reconciliation leading to tax reform?
So you've got to, here's what somebody has to recognize in terms of voting yes on the budget reconciliation. It is your only key, realistically, to fundamental tax reform. In the same way that the previous budget reconciliation vote was the only way you were going to get to a health care vote. And so what you want to avoid is sort of pre-negotiating what is going to be in tax reform, because that becomes pretty limiting and self-defeating. So the name of the game is gather the momentum, get a sense of vision about it, put the votes together, and move forward on that basis. And I think that there's a capacity in the House to do that. Again, it's a challenging environment all the way around.
What Democrats do you think are going to work with the Republicans to get tax reform done?
Look, I mean,
can you name any Democrats that you think will be on board?
I don't want to name names, but we've had a number of substantive, fruitful discussions with groups of Democrats in the House that are surprisingly interested in tax reform and whose themes even resonate with the growth theme that I articulated a minute ago. There's some distributional tables. I mean, the distribution is one of the things that comes up in a lot of these conversations, but there's some folks that are coming to the table in good faith. Now, can we all get there at the end of the day? Your guess is as good as mine, but we're going to pursue it and we're going to try.
Can you get permanent reform in a 10-year budget reconciliation window?
No, you can't. So what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that you don't do violence to the deficit, basically, within it's 20 years. So if you do that, then you're at permanence. And I think that's the name of the game. What we don't want to do, if we're trying to influence corporate behavior, which we are, we want companies to bring their business back here and so forth. What company is going to repatriate some element of their manufacturing if some of these attractive things just evaporate in 10 years?
You talked about the budget tables. It looked like Republicans are getting a little squeamish about reducing taxes on higher-income households. Is that debate going to show up in this tax debate?
Well, that debate is always present. So, yeah, it will be here. But I think ultimately you've got to reframe the debate, and the debate has to be around growth, and that is, you know, getting out of a zero-sum game worldview in terms of the economy and saying this matters, growth matters,
well,
everybody benefits.
Send some of these Republican senators to re-education camp where they can get on board with, you've had the likes of, say, a Dean Heller and a Jerry Moran. They endorsed a balanced budget amendment, but then they've essentially moved against $1 trillion in spending cuts. They talk about the detriment of higher taxes, Obamacare, $700 billion in taxes, and they wouldn't vote for a bill in the Senate that cuts taxes dramatically. That's appalling.
The CBO and the Fed are saying 2% growth. You're saying 3% growth. What do they have wrong? What do the CBO and the Fed have wrong about the economic outlook?
Well, the CBO, God bless them, have gotten a number of things wrong. I'm not here just to pile on them, but they got Obamacare fundamentally wrong.
So then why are we focused on them so much?
We shouldn't focus on them, and we should look at other scoring elements as well. So Congress is complicit, in, to your point, by creating...
I mean, the whole 20 million uninsured is just a lie because people can choose not to get
right. It's an overcharacterization, and what sometimes happens is the overcharacterization gets clung on. But it was the Tax Foundation that has evaluated this, and they've got a great reputation in town for calling balls and strikes, and they've evaluated the blueprint and said out of the blueprint you're going to see 3%.
So how long before you think we see a move in GDP as a result of once you do get...
Look, if we get this thing done in 2017, I think at the beginning of 2018, in anticipation of this, you know how this works.
That's
People
true.
see it coming and there's a sense of certainty. They say we're going to invest and we're going to go.
They start changing their behavior.
That's right.
Great to see you, Congressman.
Thanks
so much.
Yeah,
we're going to be
thank you.
watching,
Great
and
to
we'll
be here.
be watching the hearing today.
Thank you.
Congressman Peter Roskam there.